Hello, hello, hello. It's Stephanie here, and welcome to the 30th episode of the Red to Rent Success podcast. And I am mega excited today. We have with us, as you can see if you're watching this on video, the Nicky Taylor here with us today. The woman, the myth, the legend. And Nicky is the one who makes our businesses work. She's the one who delivers on our promises. She's the one who makes everything happen behind the scenes. You all guys know me, but you don't really know Nicky. And it is a fair and even distribution of labor. Nicky does the work, I take the glory. That is how it really works. And today we won't be talking property so much. You're going to be meeting Nicky, finding out who is the Nicky T, what's her story. And I had a chat with her earlier on, and even some of the stuff I didn't know. Nicky keeps everything under the radar. She doesn't really talk. She does talk a lot. Too much, I might say, but she doesn't really talk and tell her story very much. So we'll be finding out today what happened to Nicky's military career. We're going to be finding out how she went from rising star to redundant. We're going to be finding out about her move from banking to education. We're going to be finding out how many members of staff were required to fill Nicky's role after she left her last full-time role. And what in heaven's name made her join her crazy sister in property. So let's kick this off, Nicky T. Hello, welcome.
Hello, sis. How are you? How are you?
I'm all right. Nicky, what you don't know, listeners and viewers, is she's already made us start this thing twice because she's very fussy. I don't know.
I'm here at all.
So,
on a serious note, I'm thrilled to be on. I much prefer the back scenes. What's it called? Behind the scenes kind of position, and working on the content of the podcast with you. But yeah, I'm more than happy usually to push you up front, and you do such a good job of it, sis. That's why. I mean, what would the world be without hello, it's Stephanie here.
I'll say a lot better off. But Nicky Taylor, I want to ask you some easy questions just to warm you up.
Okay. Nice.
Before we get into the meat of this. So, Nicky, who fell out of the car?
I fell out of the car. I remember it very, very clearly. This is just another of the stories where Stephanie claims my pain or my happiness or my whatever. So yeah, I fell out of the car. Full stop. Even mum got a little confused last time we asked. But it was definitely scooped back up off the ground.
Listeners and viewers, is that mum didn't lock the car door properly, or somebody didn't lock the car door properly. We're all in the car as youngsters. We had a Renault 12, a huge Renault 12 estate car, yellow. Apparently I chose the color. And we were all in, and mum was holding Nicky and I in the back, and one of us was flung out onto the street near this door. And
I prefer the word in that I leant on the door or whatever else, and the door just opened rather than flung out.
Yeah.
There was no intent.
Nicky maintains it was her, but really we all know it was Nick. Okay, so that's the first question.
Well, to be honest, if you're going to use the narrative flung out, then yes, are you.
Okay, moving on. I'm going to ask you a question, easy as well. Who's the one people think look the youngest?
Well, it depends if you ask someone who's just come out of Specsavers or not. If you ask someone with 20/20 vision, then undeniably that would be me. And if you ask someone who's a little older in years, or wears glasses or spectacles, or has other challenges, then it's a variable answer.
Oh, right. Okay. Let's dive into this, because really we want to show who is Nicky T, how did you get where you are, why are you nearly always right, and other annoying things about you. I can go into some of your other irritating traits later on as we go through, but for now, let's go back in time, Nicky T, to when you were 16.
Goodness, 16, getting ready to leave school, world ahead of me, and I was confused. I just didn't know what to do. And I thought at that time that everyone else had a plan. Everybody else knew what their careers were going to be, and it was just me. So I came up with something. And what I came up with was that I was going to go to the army. I was going to be in the army. Why did I want to be in the army?
I don't
I,
know.
wa- I wanted to be in the army because actually my dad was in the army or was in the army. So I thought I'll go in as a graduate. I joined the army as a graduate. So I went off to college to study accountancy and chemistry. And again, why accountancy? Because my dad was a bookkeeper. So yeah, in the absence of a plan for myself, I wanted to be like my dad.
Oh,
I went off to college, studying accountancy and chemistry, Sutton Coldfield College in Birmingham.
yes. And you did much better in your jobs than you did at college. What happened at college?
I lasted one term. So over by Christmas, we joined in September, and by the first break, I decided that actually, because it was something that I'd just come up with, an idea I'd come up with. I realized I didn't really want to be in the army. And so why was I going on to studying stuff at the moment to go to university, to get a degree, to go into the army when actually I realized there was no passion in it for me. So I left college and joined a youth training scheme, earning me 30 quid a week.
Yeah.
Wasn't even a lot of money in those days, but not least when mom really hammered home financial management and running a house and whatever from an early age. So we had to give mom a third of whatever we bought in, so whatever our wages were. So I kept 20 quid and mom got a tenner each week.
That sounds, well, I wouldn't say that sounds good, but you were at, well, I suppose, I don't know whether we should say the companies, but you were at a company doing, tell us about what you were doing.
Yeah, so I think I can say Alpine Soft Drinks is where I was working. So it's a company or was a company in Solihull, based in Solihull, Birmingham. What are you eating?
The nice to know. Oh,
Oh,
O to the M to the G. No, you can't have any O.
Gosh. Anyway, back to my job. So I was working with a company called Alpine Soft Drinks, and they were back in the day where you used to have your fizzy pop, as it was known in Birmingham, delivered to the door. And I was working in the accounts department on the I think sales ledger and credit control, so chasing the money, which I loved. But it was a set program for a period of time or whatever. And I could have stayed on there, but chose to find a different job. And that's when I moved on to the Golden Loaf Bakery again in Birmingham, which was an industrial bakery. But rather than cook the bread, I was in the office. So I was an accounts assistant there.
And Nicky just went in there. She must have blown them away because they were just expecting, a junior accounts person, but you were way over delivering. And that's what I so take my hat off to, because you just had such drive from even the very first job you started off. And I'm guessing, were you on much more than £30 at the bakery, or can you not remember?
Yeah, I can't remember that. I can't. I would have been. I can't remember what I was on. I can't remember what I was on. But I've always worked hard or applied myself, and maths and why I suppose I chose to look at the accountancy. It comes easier to me. You're the wordy person. I'm the numbers person. So I remember my first kind of job was a Saturday job. And that was working with Dad on the bookkeeping and the accounts at a local firm.
Yeah.
So yeah, numbers just seem to make sense to me.
Yeah. And so you went to the bakery, but there was a bit of a hoo-ha with the bakery, wasn't there?
There was a bit of a
first disappointments at work.
Yeah. So I joined the bakery, and as part of the interview and recruitment process or selection process, they'd said to me that if I joined and reached certain targets or whatever else, then they would give me a bonus. Well, I was ecstatic. A bonus? I thought you just wait, worked and got your wage. And it was, a couple of £1,000 or whatever else that they said. And coming from on the backdrop of £30 a week, delighted. So I worked really, really hard to achieve the goals and the targets and whatever. But then
water.
Yeah, there was no bonus. So, and it soon became clear that actually there was never going to be a bonus, or I don't know what changed, but yeah, no bonus. So that was my first kind of real disappointment from people who I, really admired and respected and thought had integrity and were genuine. And maybe in other aspects, all of that was applied. But in regards to their dealing with me, that was a big kind of awakening, let's say.
Yeah, and then you went on to some incredible things, which we'll get to in a moment. But from there, you decided to have a little bit of variety in your life. But it didn't work for you, did it, Nicky? Because everywhere you went, they wanted you to stay there. And I felt quite put out because I used to move around to different places.
So at the bakery, I kind of realized after a couple of years that I got over the initial upset with the managing director, and but realized actually my progress was limited because it was a family company, and my boss was the boss's daughter. So actually, there weren't no progress. I weren't going anywhere. Because she wasn't going anywhere, very comfortable. So yeah, I decided I'd move around, and I again still kind of like looking and searching for what career or what role or what industry to work in. I decided to go temping. That was a really big thing back in the day. You could join per temps or one of the other kind of manpower agencies and go to different administration roles. I thought that would give me a good glimpse at different environments and work out what I wanted to do next. But yeah, you're right. I went to one and got stuck there because they kept extending my contract and renewing my contract. And so after a while, I realized actually maybe I need to move out of Birmingham. That was a big moment. So I looked around and realized that actually I just felt a bit closed in. I thought if I stay in Birmingham and if I stay doing the type of roles that I thought I would be doing, I might never get out of Birmingham. And that scared me a bit. So, hey?
Because you said a line that just made me laugh so much. Come on, can you remember it?
I'm not sure I can.
This is where people go to die.
Okay. Yeah. It just felt like it was obviously great for someone else, but just not for me.
That particular company, everybody had their like routines and they complained all day and they never left. And you just thought, that's it. I've got to get out of here. It's sucking my energy. I'm not moving forwards. But it was so radical, or it seemed so radical to me when you said you were going, and you just, I don't know, did it feel quite brave to be moving to London, or?
I think I chose London because that's where our auntie was, my mom's sister, and an auntie that we'd always had such fun with growing up. A very inspiring auntie. And so it was a exciting choice. I didn't actually feel scared because the future ahead of me, or what I envisaged the future ahead of me, was so much better than what I'd made the possibility of the future in Birmingham. So no, I was excited to start the new chapter. So yeah, I moved to Birmingham. No, moved to London.
And then what was it like? Because you went from, backwaters of Birmingham to the cut and thrust of city London career. So how did you get started on the ladder?
I applied for the job, my first job in London, from Birmingham. So I secured the job before I made the move. And that was possibly a much easier than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, it was, you just apply yourself when there's a focus and a hunger and an energy, which there was at that point to do something a bit different. And from my perspective, I've been coasting a bit till then. When I say coasting, I've been trying to find something and not being able to find it. And I thought London, the big city, bright lights, the capital, that's where I'm going to find my future and my life.
Fantastic. And what was it like? You say you did the first job, but then you got into banking, and that was really the career, the transition that was important. So tell us about moving from, excuse me, what you had been doing when you first went to London to moving into the banking world. What was it like?
Yeah, after my first job in London, I just wanted a break, so I went off to Jamaica for 6 months. That was
6 months, you know, ladies and gentlemen. Most people can go away for a fortnight.
I saved hard. I saved hard to enable myself to be able to take care of things. By then, I'd moved out of Auntie's home and I was renting a room in a HMO. I understand what that is. I was renting
the one with no lounge and a tiny, tiny kitchen?
Yeah, tiny kitchen, small bathroom, one bathroom shared between 5 of us. Upstairs, I was downstairs near the kitchen, had one room.
Yeah, wow. I think I came there once.
I
was amazed.
Yeah, so I'd given up my room and decided to go off to Jamaica, put everything in place to make that happen. That was my first trip to Jamaica. So although that's where my mom was born, a lot of our aunts and uncles were born, our grandparents were born, my father, our parents to grandparents. I'd never been there before. So that was an amazing trip to explore a bit about where we came from and how my family would have grown, to meet aunties and cousins that were still there, and just to relax, really, to take some time out. And it was a great 6 months, but then you have to come back and start earning some money and working out what your life is. And I applied for a job at Citibank, as it was known back then. And I got a job at Lewisham in Riverdale House in the to manage the P11D process, which is a end of year statutory return that's done through payroll for the Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, HMRC. So I was there on a fixed term contract, and that went really, really well. And they asked me to stay.
Of course, because everywhere asks you to stay. And then you really went up through the ranks, and I've just got some of them listed here. Assistant payroll coordinator, assistant manager of payroll, assistant VP payroll manager, vice president of HR, head of HR, global HR director. So you and throughout that there was a lot of ups and downs, should we say. So tell us about, getting in there. What was it like at the beginning when you first were thrust into this world, which would have been different from wherever you were before?
Oh, it was exciting. Goodness, it was, Citi is a large US investment bank. Completely different to anything that I'd experienced before. Lots of different types of people. I loved it. Really, really loved it. It was, and for, I felt that working hard, I could move, and that's what I did. So I got, I was there for a fixed term contract. I was asked I was then offered a permanent role, and then got promotions to different roles throughout the bank. And yeah, worked really hard. It was long days because I've realised that I don't often have an off button that stops at the right time. I kind of continue way in excess of maybe what others would do. But I suppose what I did, I made my work my life, and got into a cycle of living to work rather than working to live. And that became my routine, my norm, and I did it for many, many years.
Yeah, it was crazy to watch that, from a distance as a sister. 16 years you're at the bank. And I don't know if people can get an idea of this, but you weren't just doing what most people call a long day, maybe 8 till 8. You were actually going in early at a normal time and not getting home until midnight and ridiculous things like that, as on the regular.
Yeah, I got into a cycle. So the 16 years were across 4 or 5 for, the big investment banks. But I would go to work. I'm not really an early bird. I'm more night owl than early bird. So I'd kind of roll in at about the 9, but that would mean I'd be leaving home at about 8, doing the whole public transport thing across London to get to my desk in Canary Wharf. And then I would catch the last train home. And so that would be my last train from London Bridge Station to Peckham, which is where I lived then, would be around midnight. So I'd leave my desk and catch the tube to make sure I made that last train home. And I suffer with travel sickness. So I couldn't get a taxi home at that time, because then I would end up feeling ill when I got home. So it was always the train if I was working late.
Oh, I think I only vaguely know about this travel sickness malarkey.
If I'm fed and watered, I'm fine. But after a long day like that, I probably haven't eaten properly. I'm tired, probably a little dehydrated. And so that's when the travel sickness would really be a problem for me.
I just can't imagine that life. I just find it hard to. But what was amazing for you, because you really strived for it, put your heart and soul into it, and so it was amazing for you to actually get recognized, and you were recognized several times in different ways. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I found that I could, command a good salary. I was able to, I had different vice presidents or HR director roles at the investment banks at that point. And I was considered top talent, a top performer within the bank. So as part of that, you would, go on overseas trips, or, there were lots and lots of different opportunities. So I spent a little time in Hong Kong, went to Switzerland, went at one bank. So yeah, it was good times. You had to work hard. It was tough. And again, at that point, that was the only thing I was really focusing on. There wasn't much time left for the relationships and the family. So I allowed that to take the brunt while I was focusing and applying myself in the office.
Yes, because I remember I called you one time and he says, "Oh, excuse me, I'm in Japan."
Hong Kong, sis, Hong Kong. I haven't been to Japan.
Hong Kong, you were not Hong Kong. You were teaching people how to do what you did.
Yeah. So a number of the roles, I think that Hong Kong trip wasn't a teaching trip. I think that was the Switzerland one, where essentially I devised a process which transformed our department in London, and ensured that funds were coming into the bank much faster, and then was asked to go and roll it out in Switzerland.
And that's why I always feel so proud of everything you do, because we obviously had the same upbringing and same background, and you really flew. You took it all over the world. You competed with some of the best people in the world, and you came out on top. And it wasn't easy, because a lot of the things that we now know about coaching, mindset, coaching yourself, performing at a high level, perhaps you knew more about it than I did at that time because of the environment you were in. But I don't think either of us knew as much about it as we do now, yet you still managed to hold your own. And it wasn't easy, because as I mentioned at the outset, there were ups and downs. And one of the downs, or three of the downs, is that on all of the occasions you were highlighted as rising star, top talent, whatever they called it at that particular bank. You were exceeding all of the targets that were set for you, yet you were still made redundant. So let's go into that redundancy piece.
Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah, the first time was just a crushing blow. I had, in all instances, even though I might have been aware of, potential restructures within the organization, I didn't think that my role specifically was at risk. Because invariably I was working with the HR team as well. So, I would often be part of a management team looking at what roles to make redundant within my team or the wider HR community. But yeah, the first time just came from nowhere, bolt out of the blue. I just felt like I'd given everything. And in most instances, the redundancy came as following a change in management. So new manager comes in, they want to, I don't know, put their own flair on things, create their own team. And, for whatever reason, my role, my face, my whatever didn't fit. And so I was made redundant. And as I said, the first time was the hardest, but it never gets, even though in that first one we got coached, well, all of them you get coaching because of the level that I was at, to help you deal with redundancy and help you to prepare for the next job. But it's still personal, isn't it? It's just like, yeah, they say it's the role, but really they've got rid of me. It's I wasn't good enough. And that then feeds into all of those underlying thoughts that we have about ourselves. And, that's something that I have struggled with and continue to struggle with and continue to keep having to address and having a chat with myself over the fact that, I quite often undervalue my achievements and what I do and what I've done, and don't feel good enough to perform, feel an imposter in certain fields and circles.
Yeah, and I was totally mind blown when you actually said that, because you just look at other people and you just think, wow, that person is operating at such a high level, like you are operating at such a high level, that you must feel so good about that. And you never imagine for 1 second that you would even have a moment's self-doubt. So I was quite surprised actually when we had a chat beforehand, before we were recording this, because that's the way Nicky is. She doesn't want to record unless she knows what's happening. But
you wouldn't tell me.
You wouldn't plan it. Excuse me. You wouldn't. We didn't plan it all out, but we just had a conversation about Nicky's past, which I learned a lot of things. But Nicky, we talked about redundancy, and it was really the last time, wasn't it?
Yeah, by the last time.
The
So
third.
the third time, 16 years in financial services, I just had enough. I thought, it was just more that my work felt faceless. It felt like I was just, crunching numbers or writing reports or delivering presentations or having these meetings that, what do they really mean? What did it all really stand for? So I decided that actually, after I negotiated the last exit, it was time for a change. I didn't want to get another job within financial services to go back to doing exactly the same thing. And so I chose education, and a brand new free school in Southwark, Compass School, that was going to be my new stomping ground. So that was again another amazing experience, and really gave me a new found admiration for anybody in education, whether that's a teacher, front of classroom, or all of the administration and support and operation that goes on behind.
Can I just ask a question? Because I think anybody who's in education will get a bit of a laugh here. Can you just explain why you thought of going into education? You mentioned before 3 things where you thought of going into education.
Yeah, there were 3 main drivers for me. I considered my skills and ability and the wide range of operational skills that I had, including, finance, payroll, marketing, a whole slew. And I thought, transferable skills, all these transferable skills, number one. Number two, you can't work long hours in a school. They start at 9 and they finish at 3:30. Don't they start at 9? Around 9 and finish at 3:30. This is for me. I can't be doing no crazy days anymore. And if the picture couldn't get any better, they have 6 weeks off in the summer. Boom, sold. Where do I sign? Where's the job?
And instead of just pushing papers,
Yeah, you're helping people. So it was kind of that whole piece about giving back and really investing in the community. So even though it meant that I was taking about a 60% pay cut, that kind of didn't matter. I knew that I'd be investing with in the children and the community. And when I say it just sounds a bit, yeah, right. But you know, it felt really important at that time to be giving back and to be doing something more than shuffling paper.
yeah. And I know that anybody who works in education would just be hooting with laughter that, saying, how did that go? And I think you characterized it, they moved from banking into education in 3 words.
Frying pan, fire.
Out of, into.
Yeah. Yeah, it just wasn't anything like that. I picked a brand new school, so a school where there was no process, no staff, and no procedures, nothing set up, and also a school with forward thinking, which had the longest day in Southwark. So our school day started at 7:30 when the children were able to come and join breakfast club. And finished at 6 o'clock. Was it 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the evening? So there goes my out at 3:30 ridiculous thinking.
Yeah, and one of the things that I remember from the time that you were at school is that you were audited. And you were up around the clock. It was back to banking. It was beyond banking hours, because actually you were arriving earlier for the school than you were for the bank, and you were still leaving at these late doors because you had no team to delegate anything to. And every system, you had to design it, strategize it, think about it, and implement it, and do any of the administrative tasks that were required for implementing the system. And I remember when the audit came, and what did the auditor say to you?
Clean bill of health, 100% audit. I was thrilled.
Yeah, and
all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed.
That's such a rare occurrence even in established schools, because auditors, they love to make a change. That's their job. That's how they make their pay grade. That's how they do what they do. But that is the sort of level of diligence that Nicky goes into. And in a way, I feel that characterizes what you do. And it's why we work so well together, and I can get past the irritation. Is because you bring that systemization, into our business. You make it all work in the way that I want it to work, but I wouldn't be able to do myself. So you're in the school and you're basically crying out for help.
Yeah.
So tell us how it went.
Yeah. Well, the thing with school funding is that you're paid per pupil. So you get an amount of money per pupil. And because we'd only just opened and we're going to grow organically, it sounds lovely, doesn't it? But that means you got no money, absolutely no money. So the majority, almost all the money would be spent on the teaching and making sure that the pupils got the best they could get. But what that meant is there was very little money for the back office and front of house and all of the operations that underpins that teaching. So yes, as you say, I went from long days to, well, crazy days to even crazier days, working through summer holidays and the like, and very little staff. I was able to employ a couple over the 2-year period in the end, but not as we didn't. The operational team didn't grow as fast as it needed to because of the emphasis on the teaching.
And so eventually you decided to call it a day because at the end of the day, you'd taken this change for lifestyle and for purpose, but you were still run ragged and you were on 60% down on income. So tell us how that all went down.
Yeah, exactly. The sacrifice on money was definitely worth it in my head for the shift that I was expecting in regards to lifestyle. But when I wasn't able to bring that about, I decided, okay, after 2 years, I'd implemented, got the school to a really good position in regards to the written policies, procedures. I'd employed a team by then, and everything was going well. So I thought it was in a really good, strong position to be able to hand over the baton to somebody else. So I tendered my resignation and decided to start a new chapter in life.
Brilliant, brilliant. So oh, ladies and gentlemen, this is also a bit upsetting because at this point you decide to go to Jamaica for 3 months and insist on WhatsApping your poor sister almost daily with pictures of you on a different beach, looking very chillaxed while I'm at my desk in Bristol. So, so you
What
went
else
to,
are we supposed to do in Jamaica
I
apart from
know.
look relaxed, eat Devon House ice cream and every kind of different patty, lobster patty. It was tough, tough. Tough to decide which ice cream flavor was the best.
Ah, but it was fortuitous. Sometimes when Steve Jobs says you can join the dots backwards. Well, we obviously, as people know, eventually ended up working together in a business. And that wouldn't have happened had you still been in banking, because how could you possibly have left, one of those type of jobs? Or even if you'd still been at the school, because you're very loyal and committed wherever you are. And you wouldn't have wanted to leave them unexpectedly. So it was just fortuitous that I had, well, let people know what I'd asked you to read.
Yeah, so I'd gone off to Jamaica to chillax, as we say. And I'd gone away thinking, okay, well, what do I do next? Again, I'd given up the job or left the job. So knew that when I came back, I would need to be earning some kind of money or doing something. So I had in my mind that it would be something around property. And yeah, you'd shared with me when I went the book that you were so excited about that I should read, the one and only Rich Dad Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. And I thought, you're the reader. I is not the reader. I don't want to read. I've got better things to do, like look great on the beach. But one day, whilst in Jamaica, I kind of thought, okay, well, what am I doing today? Didn't have a lot planned. So I thought, actually, let me download this book that Stephanie's crowing on about now. And so I downloaded it as an Audible because, as I said, I don't read, and enjoyed it. Was just kind of blown away by this new way of thinking and making your assets work for you, and really taking control of your life and driving your career or driving what you do to mean that you have income to enable you to do whatever you want to do. And I just thought, wow, I got to have some of that. And as you say, it was a great point in time to read that book. I was at a crossroads or a junction where I could go whichever direction I wanted. And so that was a really great book and great inspirational read. So thank you for the recommendation.
Wow, first time she said that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have read it had you not, mentioned it a few times, let's say.
Yeah, what I find ironic about this is that you are more talented in terms of actually administering a business, but you wouldn't have actually started a business. You kind of wanted to start a business, but I think having that analytical mind and the risk benefit and undervaluing your skills in your own mind mean that you wouldn't have started.
Yeah, it was definitely my intention to do something in property when I came back. I was thinking possibly more the flips. So essentially, you get a property, you do it up, and you sell it on for hopefully more money than the cost of the refurb and the purchase price of the property. Because I thought that way, I don't have to be around people or have anything. It's just my own kind of base. Yes, I would have had to manage the refurb, but I'd done that already with one of the property that I lived in. So I thought that was kind of the extent of what I would want to do, and that should get me by. So yeah, it was. I was blown away when when back in London, in not so sunny Kent one evening, you'd come down to visit, and you'd shared your new idea of a rent-to-rent business.
Yeah, and I didn't expect you to say I'm jumping in, because obviously we kind of not didn't get on, but we annoyed each other quite a lot.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you irritated me, but I was just perfect, and it didn't go back the other way. And so yeah, I was surprised at that. When we were there was another of your friends were there, and I was going, oh, you rent the house, and you do this, and you do that, and you just do this, and I don't know where I thought I was just going to be doing all of these things, but your friend was super enthusiastic about it all, and he was like, yeah, this sounds amazing, and I thought that's what had swung you to say, yeah, I'm coming in 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, that must have on some level helped, but I think I would have done it. Well, I know that I would have done it whether that person was there or not, because for me, it just presented a great opportunity. Obviously, it's if you're in business and you've got a partnership, it's great to be in business with someone that you know, like, and trust. And so that was something that I knew with you, I wouldn't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about, is someone going to do what they say they're going to do? Is somebody's hands in the till? Is this, that, is what? I just knew that wouldn't be an issue. I knew that similarly that your work ethic would mean that you'd be determined and driven and focused, and would be able to do good things as a balance together. Yeah. And so it was a no-brainer. It really was a no-brainer. I thought, yeah, why would I try and do something on my own versus doing something with you? Two heads are better than one. Let's get this thing going.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? As you were speaking, I was just thinking, oh, yeah, it's the same for you as well. Because, like, I'm shocked that you undervalue yourself. And then, without going too much into my story, I had obviously undervalued myself as well. And, but being in business together has been phenomenal, because I can do all of the things that not I'm good at, but I've become good at, because I have focused, I've put my head, and I don't know where the mindset came from, but I've learned the techniques, and I am doing the work, and I know that you are too. And it's just been, I don't want to say it's been, I feel like, I don't want to get too sloppy here, but I love you more since now we've been in business, and I appreciate you more, and I find you slightly less irritating than I did before we were in business, because all of the things that I used to find irritating about you, which is A, nearly always right, which is extremely annoying, B, all the detailed stuff and all the questions. Now it's just totally what we need. And I appreciate it so much. So it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, thanks, sis. And it's the same. And Mum's pleased as well, because when we first started the business, she told us after, but she was quite worried because before that we would only really be able to get on for relatively small,
Christmas.
yeah, Christmas, and then it's good to part. The separation is good.
And I think a lot of people have the same, and this is where some of my passion, mission, purpose has come from. It's they have that spark and they think, oh, I want to do something else. Like you did, you were on that beach, you were listening to the thing, you thought, yes, I want to do something else. But when you came back, possibly if that opportunity hadn't come up, you've just got another job because you weren't quite sure what to do and you were undervaluing what you could bring to anything. Oh, I might have to close my blinds. Look how bright it is. And that's the same for a lot of other people, that they have that spark, they have that idea, they're not sure of how to implement the how.
Yeah, it's only since I've been working on my mindset, which is, as we know, something that you have to keep doing. You never get to the end of that whole mindset conversation. You're always having to refocus and look at your mindset. And it was only through really looking at my achievements and being able to class them as achievements, some of the things that I've done. And they might not be crazy big things, but, they're all achievements in my journey. And actually, if you undervalue your achievements and if you don't put any value on them, then you don't appreciate your own journey. Yeah. And in not appreciating your own journey, you don't leave a clearing for the future. So you don't, you start to think, oh, I can't do that because I've never done anything in my life. My life hasn't come to anything. But actually, if you count all those little things that you've done that are actually achievements, and others would be crazy achievements to somebody else, even if you're not classing them as an achievement, then you kind of create this opening for the future and the ability to look and say, yeah, you know what, I am going to focus on this because I can deliver for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's on the mind. It's been so good to have this conversation with you, Nick, because we talked about it before, and a lot of the things I didn't quite realize, even little things, like we didn't touch on it today, but you were saying that when you were working in the bank, you were advised or pushed into or only taking on people with degrees. And when you didn't have a degree, and just everyone's got their own little things that they believe about themselves, or let hold themselves back a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. There's that saying, isn't there, that or I'm probably going to make something up, but just around that, you have to get out of your own way.
Yes.
It's you that blocks you achieving the future, or the your successes, or just being in action. You kind of talk yourself out of it. And whether it's that not good enough dialogue that I spoke about earlier, or whatever it is for you, it's easy to stop yourself being the best you can be. And you just have to have a talk with yourself continually. Yes. And make sure that you're able to kind of move forward and deliver for yourself.
And whatever it is for you, because some people will be thinking, oh, well, I wasn't super successful in a career. I wasn't personally super successful in career. Maybe you've been spending your time bringing up a family, or maybe you've been doing something else entirely. Maybe, you've been more on the academic side or whatever. But whatever you want to do, I love what Les Brown says, which is that all your dreams are given to you for a reason. Like, your dreams are not the same as someone else's dreams, but your dreams were given to you for a reason. And it's because you have the capability to achieve them if you start moving towards them and take the step in front of you. Because sometimes people want to leap to the top of the mountain, but you get to the top of the mountain just putting one foot in front of the other. And the first step and the next step is the step that you actually are equipped right now to take. You're equipped to take the next step. And so that's what I hope that today you've enjoyed this episode. We got to know the Nicky T a little bit. And
then one of the things that I just wanted to say, Sis, before I go, that just occurred to me is that sometimes we put unnecessary labels on things. So what I mean by that is, you mentioned about the degree. We think we've got to have this degree and be a graduate, or we can't be successful, or we can't get a job, or we can't move forward. Or we think, for me, one of the things that blocked me is that I thought, well, I'm no good at goal setting. I can't do this because I don't set any goals. But what I recognize now is that actually I do set goals. It's just that why I was thinking that I didn't set goals is because it was in the lens of the corporate world, where a goal's only a goal if it's smart, if it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-driven. Otherwise, it's not a goal. And so therefore, I wasn't rewarding myself and giving myself the credit for achieving things and succeeding in my goals. So I'd stopped thinking that I could set any goals. So, it's really important that we just keep being gracious to ourselves and keep rewarding ourselves and recognizing our achievements, because even if you think you haven't achieved anything, you've achieved a ton.
Yeah. And sometimes for some people, they've had very tough, backstories. Their life has been hard. And so for you, for some people listening, the achievement would be surviving to be here today, to be listening to this, to be inspired. That's the achievement. But you can still move on from wherever you are. I love that saying. What is it? Start where you are with what you have and do what you can, because we can all do that. And I've got so many different things that I want to say, but I suppose, Nicky, I'm going to ask you, is there anything that you would like to say that you feel that, maybe I haven't asked you about today?
I just wanted, one of the things that I thought about when I was thinking about, this podcast is, I want to thank all of the people who have left reviews, actually.
Yeah.
And why I want to thank them is not so much the review, but that's nice. Thank you. Please leave us a review, especially for this episode. Episode 30 is the best ever.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we're going to top it.
It's Nicky.
But also because one of the things that I really love about our podcasts is that for every podcast review that we get, we give that a donation to our charities.
Yeah.
And so through this this business, we're able to give much more back. And that just leaves me with such a great feeling. So check out on the website, rent2rentsuccess.com, the giving page, and you'll see more about that. But at the moment, every time you give write a review, we make a donation to a day's training in Ghana of a kindergarten teacher. So, it's all of those other things that we've made possible as part of this business as well, that just makes the whole experience so much more enjoyable.
Yeah. And part of the reason we've been talking about your story at all is because we're writing a book.
Ain't that fun?
It's dreadful.
Tough, yeah, hard work. But I'm just thinking at the end. I'm thinking when it's published. And the nuggets that we're going to be sharing in it.
Yeah, I'm so excited about the book. I mean, it is hard work because we want to make it our very, very, very best work. And we want to share that with as many people as possible. And so we do have a website, rent2rentsuccess.com. Sorry, rent2rentbook.com. And I'll put a link below, rentbook.com. So you can sign up there to get any pre-launch. We're going to do a special pre-launch only to people who are on that VIP list at Rent to Rent Book. So do sign up if you want more of us and more of the system that can help you to live the life that fits better with you as well. So Nicky, that kind of brings us to an end. Let me ask you about your guilty pleasure.
Goodness, food is what springs to mind. Good food, lobster, seafood, anything
What's
seafood.
that's guilty?
Sorry?
Is that guilty? Oh.
Whoa, oh. Well, it's guilty as it's going to get today.
Well, actually, you took me for a lovely lobster at my birthday.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that was really nice. Okay, it just makes me laugh because I was asked about my guilty pleasure on the podcast, which totally took me by surprise. And I said raw cashew nuts and dashan. So my guilty pleasures were just as unguilty. So I want to thank you, Nicky Taylor, for being who you are, for making me want to be a better person, deliver better, and be better. I just love the way that you always want to do the right thing, even when no one's looking, and that you just work hard, strive, and you want the detail. You don't want to be called Nicky C. And yeah, I love working with you because we have such a laugh together as well. And is there anything you want to say before I do the ending?
I'll be back.
That's a good one. Yeah, we'll get her back on. If you've got questions that you'd love to ask Nicky, let me know. Drop me a message on Insta, Facebook, any of them. And we'll get her on, and we'll put some pictures of Nicky when she was little on the show notes, renttoRentSuccess.com/30 because this is the 30th episode of the podcast. We'll put some pictures there, so if you want to check Nicky out when she was young, or we'll maybe get some Jamaica pictures where she was chillaxing. But thank you guys, as Nicky said, thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting us. We've just gone over, we went over 10,000 downloads in 4.5 months, and we're just absolutely thrilled to bits that you are enjoying it. You're supporting us. It just feels so amazing. So we'll see you all next week. From now, it's bye from the Nicky Taylor.
Bye.
And it's bye from me. Until next week, have a great week. And remember, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer.
Take care, everybody.